Don't Breathe is a brand new horror film from the director and producer who created the Evil Dead remake. It follows three burglars who after a while notice that there's this one house in the neighborhood that is owned by a blind veteran that houses $300,000 in money. And to all three of these robbers, there is motive behind each character. Little do they know that the person that they're robbing holds a dark secret that even they couldn't even pronounce. Predict, sorry. So, this is a very disturbing movie. I have to emphasize this because this is a very disturbing movie. Once you get halfway through, it's just that disturbing. Whatever. So, again, let's start with the characters. The characters, there's only two or three characters that are actually intriguing. Alex, Roxy, and the blind man, especially, all three of them are the best characters of the film by far. The best part about the film is the blind man, who I can't remember the name of the guy, but he did a fantastic job playing this sick, sadistic, blind old veteran who just freaks me out. Freaks me out every time. But aside from that, every other character has his or her motivations, except for a couple other characters who are pretty much blank slate, kind of one-dimensional characters who, thankfully, we don't get to see a lot of, and that's pretty great from a writing standpoint. This movie has a lot of tension, and if you know me about modern horror films, is that a lot of them don't really do a lot of the tension building as much as throw shit at your face as much as they can. And I hate that about modern horror films nowadays. And it's thankful that Don't Breathe doesn't do a lot of that. It still does some of the in-your-face kind of moments where it's just random jump scare. But thankfully, that's toned down as well. The only difference, though, is that halfway through, they crank up everything to 11 and bring you the freakiest shit I have ever seen in a horror film. It's so sadistic that you could tell that they were influenced by some of the real life sort of kidnappings that have been happening recently, where like people are kept underneath the stairs or whatnot. Just a lot of freaky shit like that really elevates this film to a bit more of a realistic tone than it was trying to go for. And I really commend the people who worked on this film a lot for doing that. If it's one thing I have a gripe with, is that the ending has two endings. You know, you figure that it would end at one point, but then it goes into another ending. It just feels like Return to King once more. And I hate how sometimes they do those little trick endings, but it just kind of has no relation left to the film. It just, like, it's just kind of just separate from the film, and I wish they would have cut that part out. But as a solid hour and a half of watching this film, it was really great. And the best way I could sum up this film is that it's a more adult version of Home Alone, but only from the perspective of the intruders, and Macaulay Culkin is a grisly old blind fart who kills people and has a lot of really freaky shit going down in the basement. That's just how I would see it as. So, I had a very fun time watching this movie. It really freaked me out in parts, and some of the parts are predictable. If you know anything about horror conventions, that's my phone ringing, but if you know anything about horror conventions, you could probably guess a lot of the things in this film, but otherwise, this is a perfectly solid film for you and someone else you like to go see. So this is a perfectly fine film, and I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. It's definitely worth a watch if you want to go see it. It's a perfect horror movie for the year, and I am going to see you next time at the theaters. Peace.